Did you know that some of the most beloved TV shows from the 80s would cause outrage if produced today? Many of the shows we loved would be considered inappropriate in our current culture, and many shows from that era would never make it past the casting call. Controversy and changing social norms would keep these classics off the air. Being part of the 80s era, it might sting to know that part of that culture is no longer socially acceptable. In the 80s, families gathered around the TV, laughed at silly jokes, and cheered their favorite characters. But guess what? A lot has changed since then. What people found normal in the 80s may not be okay today. Some of those classic shows had strange characters, wild plots, or outright offensive jokes. Today, those shows would face severe backlash. Stay tuned as we check out some 80s TV shows that wouldn't be made today. At number 1, Different Strokes. This was the story of two young black boys, Arnold and Willis, who suddenly move into a wealthy man's penthouse in Manhattan after their mom passes away. Yes, that's Different Strokes. Mr. Drummond, their new guardian, tries his best to raise them, but let's be honest, this setup would raise many eyebrows today. Why? Back then, the show attempted to handle class struggles, racism, and cultural clashes. However, some life lessons turned out to be tone deaf. Who remembers Arnold's catchphrase, "What you talking about, Willis?"
What you talking about, Willis?
It was funny in the 80s, but today, we'll question why a black child's speech is turned into a national joke. Also, the show had episodes that touched on serious topics like child predators and racism. But then, it wrapped them up in 22 minutes like it was not a big deal. This shabby treatment would be called out fast in today's era. Don't forget to hit the like and subscribe buttons if you'd enjoy future content like this. Now at number 2, The Jeffersons. The Jeffersons was a bold TV show. George Jefferson was loud and proud and didn't care who he offended. Imagine a black man owning a successful dry cleaning chain and living in a deluxe apartment in the sky. It was a big deal in the 80s. As a result, he threw racial jabs at whites, Asians, and mixed-race couples.
Well, I did, Jefferson. That's what I always heard. Geez, Al Jolson called his mother Mammy for years.
See that, Louise? You see? That's what you get for inviting white.
He clashed with Tom and Helen Willis, an interracial couple living next door. Although the show highlighted prejudice from both sides, it was still too stereotypical. George called Tom a zebra lover more than once. Let's not forget Florence, the sharp-tongued maid who roasted George daily. Although she was witty, modern critics would have questioned her role. Why would a domestic worker become so funny? In the 80s, TV lovers enjoyed it, but social media would explode with debate about the show's plot. Number 3, All in the Family. As for All in the Family, it was the king of offensive TV. This single show had leading characters being racist, sexist, and homophobic.
Colored guy that was here before.
Yeah?
You know him pretty good?
Yeah, he's a neighbor. Why?
You know, I gave him $5.
Oh, no, don't worry about that. He's one of the good ones.
Oh, good.
Archie Bunker wasn't a villain, but was the main character. This guy made funny rants that got people laughing hard. Imagine realizing that you need to laugh at Archie, not with him. It's 2025, and All in the Family wouldn't have been made if it had been written today. There's no way in the world that the lead character calls his black neighbors colored and dismisses his feminist daughter as a dingbat. He would be canceled immediately. The show tried to challenge old views through Archie's arguments with his liberal son-in-law, Meathead. Still, the slurs, language, and attitudes are too raw for comedy today. Archie Bunker would be trending on X for the wrong reasons. Number 4, Webster. Webster was one of the most adorable TV shows in the 80s. Played by Emmanuel Lewis, this tiny kid with a huge smile captured everyone's heart. But here's the story. A white couple who barely knows how to raise a child adopts a black boy. This means he would be raised in a different background. While this is good news for the child, people are concerned about this arrangement. Why did the show treat cultural identity like an afterthought? Webster's background did not get much attention. It was all just slapstick and silly misunderstandings. Sometimes it got weird.
Well, let's come in.
Oh,
Yeah, right.
Webster would hide in secret rooms or fall through laundry chutes. It was funny then, but we'd wonder if anyone was parenting this kid. Again, why do you cast a 12-year-old to look like a 5-year-old? Folks would ask different questions in this age. Are we watching Webster for his talent or age? As interesting as this TV show is, it will be bashed for these cultural loopholes. Number 5. Hee Haw. Next is Hee Haw, a country comedy with a banjo and plenty of hay. Here, you have a bunch of corny jokes, skits, and women in Daisy Dukes, all set in a fictional southern town. It was like Saturday Night Live but with more moonshine jokes. Hee Haw depended on stereotypes. Everyone talked slowly and acted simply. Women were either background decorations or the butt of a joke. Today's audience would never find this funny. Of course, Hee Haw was lighthearted, but it reinforced the narrative that people from the South were slow and clueless.
One man I've ever seen.
Boy, I know it. If he wakes up twice in 1 week, he complains he's got insomnia.
If you aired such a show today with scantily dressed women popping out of cornfields, you'd raise the dust. Even back then, not many people appreciated the joke. Number 6. The Dukes of Hazzard. Since we were talking about banjos, all you need to add is fast cars, and that brings us to The Dukes of Hazzard. The show was about two cousins, Bo and Luke Duke, who outran the law in their famous orange Dodge Charger.
Well, I guess we only got one choice.
Go for it.
Sounds fun until you notice the Confederate flag on top of the car. Doesn't look so good. That symbol alone would get the show pulled down. Back then, it was a regular Southern heritage, but now people attach deeper meanings to it. Also, Daisy Duke had more legs than character. She was reduced to eye candy in a tiny outfit, solving problems with a wink. As for Boss Hogg, he was a crooked lawman who tried to arrest the boys for everything. The Dukes of Hazzard was entertaining then, but modern viewers would question why law enforcement was treated like a cartoon. The concept of the show is outdated, but the memories are not. Number 7. Alf. Alf is the furry, sarcastic alien from planet Melmac who crash-landed into a suburban family's garage and never left. He loved eating cats, messed up the house daily, and had a comeback for everything. Alf was a real-life chaos. Imagine pitching this story to Netflix. You say it's about a lazy alien who freeloads off a middle-class family, insults them daily, and tries to eat their cat.
Any last meows? Huh? No? Then I'll see you in a few days.
To what end? Animal rights activists would speak against it. And that's not all. Dad Willie Tanner was always stressed out. Watching him spiral while Alf made jokes feels mean. Don't forget the puppet drama behind the scenes, as this show was a nightmare to shoot. Alf is still an 80s cult classic, but in 2025? The alien would be a CGI therapy coach, not a cat-chomping couch potato. In fact, Alf's spaceship would never get the clearance to land in today's society. Number 8. Perfect Strangers. Perfect Strangers was about Balky Bartokomous, a sweet guy from a made-up island called Mypos. He moves to Chicago to live with his American cousin Larry. Everything seems good, but we realize that the story heavily exaggerates immigrant stereotypes. Balky's thick accent, weird customs, and cluelessness fuels the show. He mispronounces everything and acts like a grown-up toddler. Viewers laugh more at him than with him, which is a huge turnoff. In today's world, making an entire character revolve around being foreign and funny is outdated. Viewers are eager to see real drama, like an immigrant's experience without the clown shoes. And then there's Larry, who is always frustrated and screaming. Their dynamics seem incredible, but they centered on bullying. If Perfect Strangers aired now, the story writer would do lots of editing and probably switch to include a real island on the map. Number 9. The A-Team. Muscle? Check. Explosions? Check. A van that never ran out of gas? Double check. The A-Team had all the action, catchphrases, and a crew of ex-soldiers helping people while being hunted by the government. It was every kid's dream. But guess what? No one ever died. They'd shoot 1 million bullets and flip 10 cars, but everyone would just crawl out like nothing happened. And then there's Mr. T, a walking stereotype. The gold chains, the mohawk, and the "I pity the fool" were hyped to the maximum. Today's viewers want more depth, not just cool looks and funny lines. It wouldn't make much sense today. We love to celebrate heroes, but not in the manner or style it was done in the A-Team. Number 10. Mr. Belvedere. Imagine hiring a snobby British butler to live in your Pittsburgh home and help you raise your kids. Well, that's Mr. Belvedere. He's posh, witty, and has the final say. However, under his fancy accent, there is a lot of awkwardness.
Afternoon. I'm Mr. Belvedere. Are you Mrs. Owens?
Uh-huh.
And the family consists of you, one husband, and 3 children?
Yes.
The show tackled serious issues like assault, eating disorders, and AIDS. These topics were relevant in the 80s and are even now. However, the show also made fun of these topics. One minute, you're cracking up over spilled soup, and the next, you're talking about trauma. Many call this emotional whiplash. And the setup? It is super unrealistic. Why would a classy English gentleman stay with a rowdy American family? It's 2025, and viewers are more enlightened. They would demand nuance, backstory, and actual emotional depth. The humor hasn't aged. Most of the plot relies on outdated gender roles and Mr. Belvedere rolling his eyes like he's the only adult in the room. Number 11. Gimme a Break. Starring Nell Carter as Nell Harper. Nell is a black housekeeper helping a white police chief raise his 3 daughters after their mom dies. She is classy and strong at heart. She is everything the police chief wants, but something is off. The setup feels unrealistic. Nowadays, viewers would question why a show is centered on a black woman taking care of a white family. Nell was the emotional backbone. She solved the family's problems while dealing with racism.
Well, see, we've already applied for a minority loan, and we stand a good chance because I'm black. Racist.
Sometimes the show made uncomfortable jokes. For instance, race issues are brushed off with humor instead of honest conversations. Nell deserves more than the role of a funny help. Yes, she was the star of the show and shined bright, but the story boxed her into old tropes. If this story is rewritten today, she'll be the head of the house and not the housekeeper. Gimme a Break was special but reminds us how far storytelling has come. These 80s TV shows wouldn't see the light of day in 2025. We loved watching them at the time, but with time, things change. And with it, so did our culture. Good or bad, however you see it, these shows don't meet the societal needs that would be necessary to air such programming currently. The public's support is not only required, but it actually holds the main vote on what stays and goes, and not just on TV, but in our culture as a whole.